Welcome, everybody, to Office Hours. Topic of the day is webhooks. And for those that aren't familiar with webhooks, we'll try to get you familiar. If you have been using webhooks and love them, great. I would, if you don't mind, in the chat area, if you would kind of put in a number from 1 to 10. I like to find out where people are at with webhooks. Maybe 0 meaning I don't know a thing about webhooks in Realvolve. 10 is I do use them, and I have a suspicion that a lot of people do not use them. But for those that do use them, I think that they're very beneficial, especially in saving you time in what you're doing. Whoever's on iPad says 2. So what we'll do is kind of go through this process and get you guys to a better understanding of webhooks. For those that don't know me, my name is Mark Stepp. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve, creator of the workflow platform and relationship scoring. Spent a lot of time, many years in the real estate technology arena. This year, actually, I think is going to be 33. I need to change these slides, but I always say that and I forget. But what I try to do is help people understand technology and help real estate agents use technology to remain sustainable in what they're doing and in all the automation and stuff. Lisa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Crumby, and I'm actually the manager of Premium Services Department here at Revolve. Like Mark, I've been in the real estate business for quite some time. I've been a broker for about 23 years now, so long time. But I do work with a lot of Revolve customers like yourselves and helping them specialize and implement workflows into their business or their everyday business needs. So yeah, we're looking forward to working with you guys today and teaching you a little bit about webhooks.
Awesome. So the agenda, we'll go through the webhooks, we'll go through some help, some premium service things, and a giveaway at the end of this for those that stick around long enough, and kind of see if we can help you out in a few different ways. So what is a webhook? And a easy way of understanding is just a webhook just allows you to take information that's currently stored in Realvolve, and it can be information from a contact, a property, or a transaction itself, and send that information somewhere, and it kind of depends on what your need is, but send it out to some other application. Now, the easiest way to see this is through a platform like Zapier. Zapier has integrations with thousands. I think there's like 5,000 different applications that Zapier can integrate with. And they have an option called webhook, and we can send, using the webhook, we can send information to their webhook and then use it in many different ways. There are lots of different possibilities, and we're going to go over some of them. What we want to do is kind of look at the different ways that you can use webhooks in your business and think about what kind of data could you use within Realvolve in other places. Now, contact nurture is one of them. A lot of people send out, write birthday cards and stuff like that. There are services out there that allow you to send information to their services. They will print the birthday card. They will use handwritten printers, so it actually looks like it's been pinned, and then they will mail it for you and send it out, and it costs about the same price as a regular birthday card you might get at Walmart or whatever. Those types of things that are available as far as sending data from Realvolve to other services are plentiful. Contact nurture is one of them. Active listings, just as soon as you get an active listing, what do you want to do as far as sending out just listed or new price or different types of things on social media, being able to do things in an automated way. How much time does it take you to do them manually? If you just wanted to create a quick post of content that came from the database, looking up that information, copying, pasting, put it into some kind of social media post, and then doing that over the different services that are available, it can take up a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes at times just to do the things. Plus, then you get stuck in there, think, I really need to respond to this, that, or the other thing, and you get distracted. So it really helps to be organized and have these automations set up. And what we can do is use webhooks to do that. The contract to close process. We just sold this property and sending out information to social media to do it. So what we want to do is kind of show you the process for doing these things and allowing you to think outside the box, allow you to think about how you might use them yourself in your own business. So the one thing that I want to show you is, if you've not seen it before, there is a service out there. There's multiples out there. This is just one that I've used in the past called Handwritten, spelled a little bit different, but basically you can go out to their website. You can type in information about what you want to do, some kind of happy birthday message of some sort. You're able to choose what font style, which this is very close to the way I write. And actually it's a little bit cleaner, obviously, but the lettering is close to the way I write words and stuff. So that's good. But there's lots of different choices. You can choose different handwriting styles, and then you pick out a card and you send it. Okay. That is a way of doing it, and it can be done, obviously manually. You can do all this process manually, but you can also do it through an automation. But why not take that information and send it out? Now, you can just create a standardized message where you put in some merge fields, like Joe would be the first name of the person and some other stuff. I'm putting a little bit different motion on this one because I also want to show you how you can maybe use AI, another piece, to actually create the content for your card before you actually send it out. So what you've got to do to use a webhook is set up an activity in your workflow. And this is just one sample of an activity. It could be part of some other workflow that you've got. It can be part of just a standardized contact process that you do every year or something. But you create an activity of some sort, and in that activity, you schedule out for when you want to do this. This one is set up for 7 days before the birthday. I actually want to do this process. I've noticed that it takes 5 to 7 days sometimes to actually get these sent out and to the person. You pick the number of days that you want, 3 to 5, 7, whatever. I just picked 7 on this one. And down here in the action side, you'd create a new action. And in that action, you give it a title. And then all the way down here at the bottom, there's a place for a webhook. And we're going to go through a video that shows this entire process. But I want to show kind of an outline. If people have questions, certainly reach out, stop me and say, hey, how do you do this? And we can go into a little bit more depth. But basically, you put in a webhook URL. And this is provided to you by whoever you're using the webhook from. In this case, it's Zapier. Okay, Zapier has a webhook feature, and you just say, "Hey, I want to set up a webhook," and it will give you a URL. And I've marked off some of it just so that you don't use mine. But what happens then is you put in this URL, and you can click on Send Sample Data, and it will take the data from a contact. Actually, it's a sample. It's not even one of your contacts, but it'll take some data and it'll throw it out to this webhook so that Zapier can look at the content and know what merge fields it needs to create. Okay. Once you've set up the title, you've put in the URL, which you will get from whoever the service provider is. You click on save, and then you save that activity and you're done. So that part's the easy part. What you've got to do is set up a trigger. And again, we're going to go through an actual video on how this is all accomplished. But what you do is you set up a trigger and then you set up an action. Now, I've set up a middle person here, a middle action, just to add a little bit of flair to this, where the catch webhook says, okay, this is where you get the URL that we put into Realvolve. You would have created this step right here, and it gives you the URL. You put that then into Realvolve. Once that data is sent to that trigger, then at that point, it knows all the merge fields, the data that comes from Realvolve, and then it can send it on to the actions. Now, in my piece here, I'm sending it to the conversation piece within ChatGPT, so it does something. And then after that, it's sending some of that information then to the card, is kind of the flow of this. So in the ChatGPT part of it, I've written a little instruction that says, write a happy birthday message to, and then the merge field that comes in from my webhook. In this case, it has the name Joe in there. Okay, so write a happy birthday message to Joe. Their birth date is this date, whatever the date was that was sent as a sample, and not a great birthday since it says 22 on there, but in either case, March 14th. Be sure to reference some fun fact that happened on that birthday, and make sure that you do not reference the year in the message. So I didn't want to put some kind of year, just some people are touchy about that. If there is a spouse listed below, which I've created a little seed in here that says spouse and then the spouse's name. If there is no spouse, it'll be blank and we don't have to worry about it. If there is a spouse, then add a PS section to them, telling Joe to say hello to their spouse for you. And if there is no spouse, then tell them to enjoy their special day with friends and family, and do not include a salutation. So what we're doing is we're creating an AI, a ChatGPT prompt, and then with that, we're putting in merge fields that it will create something. So now what's going to happen, and you may or may not want to do this because it's creating something that you don't know. You'd want to verify before you actually send it out, but it would create something like this. Happy birthday, Joe. Today's is a day to celebrate you and the wonderful things that make you unique. Did you know on this day in history that in 1879, Albert Einstein was born? Okay, pretty amazing company. And it goes through. P.S. Say hello to Jane, because we had specified if there is a spouse, spouse's name was Jane. Tell her hello for me and make it a wonderful celebration together. Cheers to another year of adventure and making memories. Now, I do this because now we've got something that's hyper personalized to Joe. It's got his name on there, which you can do with anything, but it also has some information that was generated. It was, the birthday of Albert Einstein on that same day. And I've also told it to personalize it even more by saying, hey, include a message to Jane that, that we want to do something. So it adds that personal level of messaging. So now you can take that information and send it to step 3 here, which is the handwritten card. And it then takes the settings that you've got in there, that you've chosen which card and the message part. And I said, don't include a salutation because in the settings of the Zap, you can also include a salutation. So I wanted to make it, more personal. So this just allows you to create a handwritten personal note that goes out that's very unique, that's very personalized, and it took no time, because other than the setup originally, now you can use it for an entire year this way without having to do any kind of additional processing or anything. What we're going to do then is we're going to say, okay, besides creating the webhook, what else can we do for properties besides a birthday card? We're going to do some posts, so social media posts. Now, the objective of this is to use the information that we've already got stored in Realvolve. We've got information about a property or whatever transaction. If you wanted to use the closing side of this, we want to create a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a LinkedIn, and a Twitter post. We want to use the Realvolve to actually create the post and increase the traffic to your website. So there's 3 main objectives here, and we can do this once it's set up. We can do this just in an instant once it's all set up for each time that you have a new listing. So what I want to do is let's create the webhook for all 3 of those and get to the video here. So Kendra did a great job of doing a video, so I'm going to play this video, and once we get done with it, we'll go through and kind of talk about it.
I have a property that I just listed for sale. And one of the activities that I have created in my active MLS workflow is to create or to post just listed announcements to social media. I could create just a basic to-do, and I could open up each one of my social media accounts, and I could create a post and post it to them. Or I can harness the power of Realvolve using our merge fields and essentially automate part of that process. And so what that looks like is I've created a task called social media just listed announcement. And if I click here in this box, I have created a checklist with the things that I want to use that are already inside of Realvolve to create my social media posts. In this case, I want to use my internet marketing narrative and my website link. I'm inside my property. So I've come here to property. And under this marketing tab is where I'm going to store the majority of my marketing information. And in this case, I have stored my website link here under website URL. I've just used Zillow as an example. So you would paste in your website's property's URL for the specific property. And I've also chosen to use internet marketing narrative. So in this case, I've said just listed, this beautifully updated 2-story home located in a desirable neighborhood. And so I basically put in the blurb that I want to use to market this new property. And so I put this in my checklist to ensure that the information that I'm using to create these posts on social media, that I'm able to review it and also ensure that no information is blank when it's thrown over to the social media to create those posts. And so I've checked this. I'm happy with the way it looks. So I'm going to check that off. I've also ensured that this link is in here, and I can click on this arrow and it will open up a new tab if I want to view the way that that listing works or that it looks, to verify that my link is live and it looks okay. So I've done that. I'm happy with it. Once I've completed my checklist, I'm then given a variety of options. In this case, I created 4 actions. I can post to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Instagram for business, not your personal Instagram. So the way this works is I can select one of these, or I can select all of these. And so what I'm going to do is, in this case, I want to post everything to social media. And so I'm going to select the ones I want to use, and I'm going to hit run. When I do that, my task is marked as complete. So then let's take a look at what it did. So I'm in Facebook under a demo account. And here's my page, or here's my post that it just created. So it took my internet marketing narrative here. And it brought in the picture from my link and also made this clickable. And so if I click here, it's actually going to drive traffic over to your website by inserting a clickable link and also showing a preview of your website's page. Need to go ahead and delete this real quick since this is dummy data. Also, since it's posting in real time, you can look at it and kind of do what I'm doing as well. For whatever reason it posted and you weren't happy with it. Let's see what it did on Twitter. Here we go. Just listed. You see how my internet marketing narrative came in. And then it also gave a link. And so I can click here and again be thrown over to my website. And on LinkedIn, here it is. I'm also going to delete this one out. All right, so how did I do that? First step in setting this process up is to create an activity. So again, for this demonstration, and you can use webhooks in a variety of applications, but I'm going to use this in my active MLS process. And so I've created a task that I want to do a social media just listed announcement. I've assigned it to the listing coordinator. I've scheduled it 0 days after date in MLS, so the day it goes live in the MLS. And I've added 2 merge fields. And we've talked about merge fields previously, but again, this is I'm telling the system by doing double brackets that I want to access this information that it already has stored in the system. In this case, I want to see the internet marketing narrative and I want to see the website link. I'm storing a variety of information. I could do my blog URL. I could do a photo URL. I could do web marketing narrative, marketing tagline. It doesn't really matter. I have access when essentially I'm taking this information out of Realvolve, throwing it over to Zapier, and then reusing it, in this case, to post social media. So the goal of this checklist is not just to use internet marketing narrative. It's to ensure that whatever information I'm taking out of Realvolve, that I have the ability to preview it before I take it out of Realvolve. And so in this case, I've set all of these up to use these 2 things, internet marketing narrative and my website link. So I'm happy with that. And I've created an action that I've titled Post Listing to Facebook. And then under webhook, I have posted in my webhook link. So where did I get this link from? Inside of Zapier, when you go to create a Zap, you're going to essentially define 2 things. You're going to define your trigger and your action. Essentially, the trigger is what makes Zapier pay attention to start doing something with the Zap. What makes this Zap run? And in this case, it's us clicking on post to Facebook inside of Realvolve and hitting run. And so our trigger is the webhook. So it's saying, pay attention for this information being thrown out of Realvolve. And if you see that information, grab it and let's do something with it. And so when I created this trigger, it gave me a webhook URL here. And so the way you can set this up is like this. So if I'm coming in here to create my Zap for the first time, I'm going to type in webhook. I'm going to click webhook by Zapier. And I'm going to do what with it? In this case, I'm going to post it to Facebook. Okay. So here's where we talk about trigger and actions. So we've got our trigger and we have our actions. Our trigger is if you grab information from Realvolve, do this with it. In this case, it's create a Facebook post. So my trigger is going to be catch a hook. And my action is going to be create a Facebook post. So as soon as I've done that, I hit try it. When I hit try it, it essentially takes me to this view. Once it takes you to this view, you've already told it this. You've told it that the trigger is catching a hook in Webhooks by Zapier. So we just went over that. And once you do that, it's going to provide you with a unique URL. So essentially, you're going to take that, copy it, come back over to Realvolve, and you're going to paste it in here. This is essentially telling Realvolve where to send the information over to. In this case, we want to send it over to Zapier. If you hit send sample data, then it's going to send a whole slew of information, basically sample or examples of the things that you can store inside of Realvolve. And so you may want to go ahead and hit send sample data so that you can set up your webhook. Once you've pasted that in, you're going to hit save. And I've essentially done the same thing for every single one of these. I've created an action. I've titled it what I'm going to be doing. And I've come down to webhook and I've pasted in the URL that Zapier provided me.
On that, I want to stop it just for a second. On that, one important piece that I'm not sure you caught or not is she was setting up separate zaps for every one of these. So this particular one is for Facebook, the Facebook post. There would be another one for Twitter, which has a different URL. So you're not using the same URL for each one of them. Now, technically, you could do this all in one shot. You could have multiple actions, and in which case you could use one webhook and then have an action for Facebook, an action for Twitter, if you did them all the time for the same services every time. By putting it in as a separate action within the workflow, you have the opportunity to pick and choose which ones you actually want to use. So hopefully that makes sense on that. It's just, I didn't want you to think that you're using the same webhook every time. You're going to use a different webhook for each process or zap that you do set up. Make sure that's clear.
So in this case, I've hit next. And my action is creating a post in Facebook. So once you do that, you're going to log into your Facebook. You're going to select create Facebook post. You're going to hit continue. You'll log into your account or make sure that you're logged in and hit continue. And then it gives you your options to set this up. Under your drop down on page, it's going to provide you with the pages that you have access to post to. In this case, I've selected Kendra Rouse Realtor or a professional page where I would want to market this specific property. Under message, I have clicked into the box here and I have found the information. So if I click down, and I see all this information, anything with this webhook symbol means that this is data that Realvolve found and I can essentially reuse. And so there's a ton of information that is stored in Realvolve. And so I can narrow that down by clicking in the search fields. And in this case, remember, I stored my information in Internet Marketing Narrative. And so if I come over here and, or Marketing Narrative. So as I start to type things down, it's going to basically drill down and give me the information. In this case, I've got Internet Marketing Narrative and our Web Marketing Narrative. But remember, I chose to store my information in Internet Marketing Narrative. So I'm going to click on it and it's going to store it up here. So this is saying inside of the message field in your Facebook post, put in whatever you find from your Internet Marketing Narrative. So I have the ability to fill this in with information stored in Realvolve, and I could also store it in with static information. So if I wanted to say just listed, and then put in whatever I'm going to have in the Internet Marketing Narrative. So no matter what happens when this post, it will always say just listed because I typed it in, and it will follow it with whatever's in the Internet Marketing Narrative. Maybe in this case, I actually did put just listed in my Internet Marketing Narrative. So I definitely don't want it to say just listed, just listed. So, you know, your process may vary.
What you can do on this, as far as this is where she's taking one big field, the marketing narrative field itself, and throwing in there. One thing you could do is even above this or below this, just like she had typed in the listing, just listed, or, you know, some kind of message, you could put in there some bullet point items like bedrooms, and put in the merge field for the bedrooms. Go to the next line, bathrooms, and then the the merge field for bathrooms. So you could build out a bullet point list. You could use some emojis. You could do some different types of things to make it look specifically the way you want to look inside your post. You don't have to just use whatever's in the narrative. You can actually build what I like to call word math, where you're taking text, static text, words that you type in, plus whatever merge field content you have, and it build out sentence structures and lists of things for you. So just, you would want to make sure that if you did that, that you had those fields filled in, and maybe even add those to your checklist. But at least that way you can make it look however you want it to look inside the message for the post itself. Does that make sense? Hope so.
I'm going to choose to leave everything in my internet marketing narrative, and my message is only going to be what I post every time. And so under my link URL, I have put my website URL, because remember, that's where I am basically pulling the picture from, or sharing where I would like people to click, or my call to action inside of that post. I have a couple options here. I could also, instead of doing it this way, I could create or post a photo on Facebook. And so here you have your photo URL. So maybe you just, instead of driving traffic over to your website, you want to just post a photo of the property with a blur. That's fine. The reason I'm demonstrating this is so that you understand that essentially what you're doing is, by creating a clickable link inside of that post, you're encouraging people to click on it and driving traffic over to your website, and increasing your website's traffic and things like that, which is beneficial. So once I've hit done, I'm going to hit continue. And because I've used, well, in this case, if you had done this with test data that you had sent over from Realvolve, you could hit test action. I always suggest that you pull up your Facebook account and your business suite, so that you have the ability to delete this if you don't like the way that it looks. And so in this case, I was happy with the way that it looks, and I'm going to hit publish Zap. Once I've published this and ensured that it's live, then every time I come in here and create or select inside of that action and hit run, that information will be thrown over to Zapier. It will follow the rules that I set up for it, and it will post post straight to Facebook in that case. So I've done one for Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So this is how we set up Facebook. I've done the same thing for Twitter, right? My trigger is going to be Webhooks by Zapier. And then specifically, my event's going to be Catch Hook. Great, we found your request. So it's pulled information, or it's found information that it can use. It's going to find information by either you running that activity inside of Realvolve, or clicking send sample data, so that Zapier has an example of the fields that Realvolve can produce. In this case, my action is going to be Twitter. I'm going to log into my Twitter account, and my event is going to be create tweet. I'm going to hit continue, make sure I'm logged into my account. And here you're going to see kind of the same thing. It's just going to be a different application, okay? So this does not look the same as this does down here, page message URL. And the reason for that is because each action item, in this case, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, they're going to have different sets of information that they can accept. And so in this case, Twitter is saying we can accept a message, image, and we can shorten your URL. So in this case, I've decided to pull in my internet marketing narrative first, and then my website URL right below it. I'm going to hit continue, publish Zap when I'm done with that. And then LinkedIn, I've created a separate one for LinkedIn. My trigger is still webhook with Zapier. I'm catching a hook. Now, my action is LinkedIn, okay? So I've logged into my LinkedIn, and my event is create a share update. So once I've done that, I log into my LinkedIn account, and I'm given the information that I can use for LinkedIn. In this case, my comment is going to be my internet marketing narrative. And I've decided to title the content "New Property for Sale at 123 Main Street, City and State." So anything that
this is the word math I was talking about, where you can take a static text, use merge fields. There's a comma there with static text, another merge field, another comma, and then builds it out. So you're just building A plus B plus C, equals D type stuff, where you can do the word math and just pull it all together to build the sentence structure that you really want.
I put in here statically is not found inside of Realvolve. It's actually just living here. It's going to post this every single time, no matter what. It's not going to change. The street address, because it's going to go in and look for this information inside of Realvolve, will change. Your city may change, and your state may change. I've put my content description as my website URL so that I have clickable content, also my content URL. So once I hit continue, I can test my action to make sure I don't have any errors and that that's okay. And then I'm going to hit publish Zap. Once I've done that, I want to make sure that all my Zaps are on and they're ready to start using. Once I've completed all of my actions, then I'm going to hit update and my activity is ready to start using.
All right. So that is just a great way of setting up something that if you do it regularly, as far as doing any kind of posts or whatever, setting up the activity to A, remind you to do it, and B, to actually do it for you in an automated method, then you get that time back that would otherwise be spent doing it manually. Simple as that. Any questions?
Hey, Mark, do you mind if I chime in just for a quick sec? I just wanted to know if you could explain, do you have to recreate a new trigger every time you want to create a new Facebook post?
Oh, no. That's the point, is you set up Facebook post as a Zap one time. Right. And then every time you get a new listing, you're running that activity that runs that Zap that you've set up one time. And then it goes through every time you get a new listing. Now it's just click and go, click and go. You're not having to recreate the Zaps at all. You don't ever touch those typically, unless there's, unless they've done some kind of breaking change, which is very rarely anyway. But it would be something that once you've created, it's a set it and forget it type thing. You can even make these so that they're automatic. So if you didn't want to, you could set up separate activities that run automatically for each of your pieces. Instead of being separate actions of one activity, you could have them as separate activities and just have them run automatically. Send my Facebook post, send my Twitter post, and it just, boom, it's done. You could be sipping on coffee and at Starbucks and it'd be doing it for you. So that's where the automation part of Realvolve becomes extremely powerful and helping you recoup that time back that would otherwise be spent doing it manually.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing. I just wanted to share with our users that they didn't have to reinvent the wheel every single time.
Right. So Claudine asks, is it only limited to Zappy, or can we use other automations like Pabbly? I'm not familiar with that, but if Pabbly has a webhook option, you should be able to do the same types of things. Now, what we do is whenever you're given that URL, the URL itself is the location that we're going to send data. What we do then is we say, okay, you're sending the data based off of this property or this contact, this transaction, and we're just going to blast all the data to them. this is not a true API where we can sense their specific information that they want. We're just sending a bunch of information and then let you pick and choose. Zapier allows you to use that pick and choose as merge fields. If Pabbly allows it, then you should be able to use them as well. There's lots of services that use webhooks. I mean, that's kind of the big thing for a lot of applications, is to allow other applications to use their services instead of doing it manually. So more than likely it is there. Craig asks, which Zapier package is suggested for these examples? So Zapier does have a free version. Unfortunately, things like Facebook, webhooks, there's a lot of them. You do have to have a paid version of Zapier. So, but I think any paid version of Zapier will work for the ability to do the things that we've talked about today anyway. Whoever's at iPad, it says, do you have the flexibility to add different artwork for social media? So it would all depend on which field that you use within your Realvolve. So if I just go to a property of some sort here, what she was setting up is in the marketing area. She uses all these, can use any of these fields whatsoever that we've got here. So if you wanted to use the marketing tagline, the narratives, any of these, she was using the internet marketing narrative, and she was using the website URL as the two fields that she wanted to create from. But if, say, in one of them you wanted to use a given URL or narrative or whatever, you could actually put whatever you wanted to in these. Technically, the information that's stored in these, so if we have one field here for like add photo URL. Okay, so this is the URL to some photo that maybe you've got out and about on the MLS, it's public or whatever. That URL is just a web address, and we're passing that as a field. If there are other fields that you want to use, you can certainly do that. The other thing you could do is, if you're not using some of these fields, you technically can put a URL in these and pass these as fields as well. So you could put a one photo for Facebook in one of them, and then use some of these other ones that you don't normally use for other things, for photos and stuff. Absolutely. Lisa, Zapier starting packages is $20, $19.99 a month. Will work. So thank you, Lisa. Okay. Any other questions about the video that she went over? I thought she did a great job of explaining it. There's lots of moving parts. And the thing that's important to understand is that you have to have the webhook URL before you actually create the activity. Otherwise, you can't create the activity action, because you got to have it. So you can almost work on them both simultaneously. Create the activity, pull up a separate tab for your Zapier to create the webhook, get the link, and then go back to the Realvolve tab and put in your URL. Hope that makes sense. I think that was it as far as the demonstration pieces. What I did want to show you is a few other options. Now, I have done multiple different webhook type videos. If you go out to our YouTube channel and you just search for Realvolve in the YouTube channel, actually I can give you the link in our about here. But if you go into the videos section, there's a section here for playlists. And if you look at the different playlists, there is webhook training is one big playlist. that go over the different options that we've created for webhooks. So there's lots of training on different aspects of what you could do to integrate Realvolve with other applications. And some of those are, let's kind of come up over here. I had done a video on using Sign Now. It's a contract signing platform. Plus, I mean, there's several different contract type of applications that you can integrate with. So if you need data from Realvolve to go into a contract, you can certainly do that. If you wanted to use at the end of a closing, maybe you want to send a review request and use the Delighted application. They have a reviewing option. So, tell me how many stars, give me comments back. This gives you then the ability to put this onto your website, and you can get your reviews from your customers and display them on your website or other portals and stuff. Maybe you just want a contract, under contract timeline. This is one where I used a Google slide to create a layout of a page, I believe was this, and I just used the different merge fields from a transaction, and then also included certain date fields that I wanted to highlight in this. So you can create an emailable piece of content, an image or PDF with that looks very, very good and can be sent just at a moment's notice to, create this type of stuff. So there's lots and lots of possibilities here. Actually, the other one that I showed was, this was one that I really liked, where we were taking content from each transaction, each listing and each transaction, and sending it to a Google spreadsheet. And then in that Google spreadsheet, you can then make a display format of it so that it shows kind of the status of where your properties are at on a timeline board that maybe you have inside your office. It just, all it does is constantly updates based off of what information that you've got inside that spreadsheet. So every time a new listing gets added to Realvolve, you can run the webhook that adds it to the spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet then creates a prettier version, a display version that you can display on a board in your office. Just to, some great options for sending data from Realvolve. That's all that we're talking about, is sending data from Realvolve into some other application. Any questions going along that? If you get to a point where you want to look at some of those, just go out to our playlist, and they're all lined up there. Each one of those, the display board, printing envelopes, doing the surveys, full trainings on each one of those. And I think they'll be worth your time to kind of go through those. Okay, so we've got just a few more minutes. Help, as far as getting help within Realvolve. Honestly, I send a lot of people to the YouTube channel. There's lots of things. You can search our YouTube channel for certain aspects, but you can also go out to the help option within Realvolve. Down here at the bottom, you can click on help and get a person. You can click this help and get to our website. Inside the website, you can do any kind of searches and stuff as far as explanations and tips on different things that's available, kind of like the Google of Realvolve. And then if if it's after hours or whatever, you can submit a support ticket or do the help here, and it'll do the same thing. As far as the other thing that we've got is on the how do I. If you click on how do I, it will take you kind of step by step through different options. So if you want to say, how do I add a contact, and it will start taking you step by step. Click here, click here and take you step by step through things. So definitely utilize some of those tools that are available so that you can get through any challenges that you may have. As far as information about premium services, Lisa, do you want to talk about premium services?
Yes, thank you, Mark. And wow, what a class today, a wealth of information. For those of you, I think maybe a few of you have gone through our Navigator program, but if you're looking to maybe get more personal training, go through 6 months or even weekly trainings with one of our personal navigators to customize workflows or maybe build out some customization, we'd love to have you inquire about that. Right now, we are offering $1,200 off any navigator service that we currently have. So if you are interested, reach out to sales@revolve.com and they'd be more than happy to answer further questions for you. Mark, if you want to go ahead and hit that next slide for those of you that have joined us today. If you don't already have it, we would like to go ahead and install our active MLS workflow into your accounts. This is one of our premium workflows that the navigators have created. And this will go well with what we talked about today as far as webhooks and doing a social media post. Again, when you have an active listing, you want to post using webhooks, this is a great workflow to implement that in as well. And even your contract to close. Once you close, you want to post those social media via webhooks. Great workflow to do that on as well. So yes, please feel free to reach out. If you'd like this installed into your account, just provide your email and chat and we'll do that for you today.
Yeah. And this is only for those people that are live with us today.
Yes.
So put your login email in the chat and we can get that installed. Okay. Any questions for today? Any questions that I didn't cover? Anything that was confusing? Be happy to, got just a few 4 minutes before our end. Thank you guys for giving me emails. We'll get those over and get those installed for you. Awesome. I don't see any questions. Can a post be made to Instagram without using a phone? Can a post be made to Instagram without using? Instagram. I think you do have for Instagram. Yeah, you can do it with Instagram. With Zapier, you have to use Zapier. And if we just go out to Zapier, there's Instagram and Instagram for Business. And depending on, you want to use Instagram for Business. In this case, we would go with the webhook and do the same process. So the actions on there is publish a photo. And looks like, I'm not sure what API request is, but it probably is similar, but it is in beta. So, but definitely you can do a photo. So, which, using that photo URL, and should be able to paste it right in there. Any other questions? Now, if you ever wanted to find out, if you go into Zapier and go to Explore over here, they show 5,000 applications that they integrate with, and you can find virtually any kind of anything, and doing a search, lots of different options, but definitely take a look out there. Most popular items here. If you just wanted to search on social, these are the different social media things that are out there that have social in them. So there's lots and lots of different options depending on what you're wanting to do. If you do see anything that says premium, this is where it does require a paid version of Zapier versus the free version. But well worth the time. Facebook lead ads, if you're bringing in leads in from Facebook, you bring them into Realvolve, it could create the contact, and then immediately, if you wanted to, send something back to that person and be able to do some things. So there's lots and lots of possibilities. Really, the only limitation is your imagination. So Craig asks, where can photo be hosted? You mentioned MLS URLs. I mean, you can put photos virtually anywhere. MLS, if they have public ones, definitely that'd be a place to use if I was to use one. But if you have Dropbox, Google, just a Google Drive, share the drive, put photos in there, you could certainly do that. There's lots of different options of making those available. Now, technically, within Realvolve, whenever you upload a photo within Realvolve, there is a URL that you can use. So definitely that's an option as well. Just putting it in Realvolve, get the URL and paste it in there.
And also, Craig, check with your MLS, because when you do import or when you add a new listing, your MLS should have a photo URL.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for attending today. We have another question real quick. If you install free workflow, we have any conflicts with the active workflow?
Yeah. Claudine, if you already have it, we won't install it because it more than likely will be the same one. So I won't install it twice.
There you go. We do check before we install things on your behalf, so not a worry there. All right, guys. Thank you again for attending. Next week, I don't remember what next week's is. Keep an eye open on our Facebook community page. We'll let you know what the topic is, and we'll go from there. Lisa lets you know what it is. No?
I was actually looking right now, and I can pull it up really quick. It is, let's see, next week is understand and manage your suite of workflows.
Okay, great. So we'll help you guys understand and manage your workflows. That sounds pretty self-explanatory, but it actually can be a challenge for people, just helping you. If you've got a lot of workflows, helping you understand how to organize them in a better way. So, all right, guys, have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Have a great day, everyone.